Okay, right now, we have just come out of an election in Alberta, and if I had time today, I would go through all of we would do an overview, and perhaps what I'll do is I'll do a special video of that, but it is what it is. It landed where it landed in Alberta, but leading up to the election in Alberta, I want you to know that there was something very interesting that happened. You could see that it was going to be tight. You could see as it came closer and closer to election day that there are two very different ideas in Alberta, in the province of Alberta, between the NDP government proposals and the Conservative government proposals. There was a very, very well-defined choice for Albertans, but you could see it was going to be a tight one, and it was going to come down to some very, very tight races. And so everyone was just saying, hey, what can we do? It's going to be tight. We got to get more players on the field. And so Faytine, she sent out an email, and I think you might have seen one of her videos online, and she said, I just didn't get the results that I wanted. I thought we would get more people responding to this call for action in the province of Alberta. And I thought it was very interesting because while that was happening in Alberta, we just recently had a situation in the province of British Columbia where there were some changes that our NDP government made in British Columbia. So you've got an election happening in Alberta, and you were having a difficult time getting the attention of people in our community to get out there and knock on doors and do what they can to push that ball over the finish line. Well, in British Columbia, the NDP government that we already had was in place making terrible decisions about health policy and the management of our health resources in our province. And so I just held the two things up side by side, and I said, isn't that interesting that people in Alberta, they don't know how bad it's going to be for them with an NDP government? Because the reality is that the NDP has one party. They're connected at the federal level and the provincial level. One NDP party in one province is going to be advancing the same things that they're advancing in another province. And if the Albertans knew how much we were praying for the opportunity to get out and door knock here in British Columbia, I mean, we would, if somebody said, Doug, what do you really pray for in your province of British Columbia? I would say, please, Lord, bring us an election. Bring us an election so we can somehow bunker bust out the NDP government that we have in place here, because they are making terrible decisions that are significantly negatively going to impact the lives of our neighbor, and I believe overall our nation as a whole. I think that we're almost the front runners in bad health policy in our province. And so we're praying for an election, while in Alberta, they're squandering the opportunity that they have in an election. And so I say to you, please, when you're thinking about whether or not you're going to participate in an election, just remember, we live in a temporal world. The very word itself, temporal, means subject to change. So in our temporal world, things can get worse. Now, good side of it is that God also created the system, the temporal world, because he also knows that things can get better. And you and I can be salt and light and get out there and make things better, but they can get worse. And in Alberta, as I say, it is what it is. The outcome is what the outcome was, but there was just not as many players on the field as there needed to be, especially in those final days. So please, in your own provinces, when you have the opportunity to participate, and either hold ground, and I don't mean hold political party ground of a particular political party. I'm talking about when you have an opportunity to preserve the right of parents to raise their children the way they want, or you have the opportunity to preserve the right of belief and freedom of religion, or your province's position that cares for vulnerable people, or maybe one party is more fiscally responsible than another. But when you have an opportunity to speak up for those things, just remember, it can get worse. And it is worse for some of us out there. So anyway, please take full advantage of the experience and the contrast between Alberta and British Columbia, and don't let that happen to you in your own home province in the next election.